The Pop Culture Preservation Society is sponsored by Remind Magazine. If you love the deep dives we do here, you'll feel right at home with Remind. Each issue is a curated celebration of the movies, music, and TV legends that shaped our lives, all packaged in an actual magazine with groovy photos, fun articles, vintage trivia, and those old school puzzles that keep the memories sharp. From the icons of the small and silver screen to the Saturday morning cartoons and toys you never forgot, Remind is dedicated to keeping nostalgia alive and well. And as an exclusive offer to PCPS listeners, get a full year of Remind magazine for just $12. That's 86% off the cover price by using this URL to order. remindmagazine.com/pop. That's remindmagazine.com/POP. Don't just remember the past, reclaim it. Subscribe today and bring a little more then into your now.
If you like what you hear, let us know by becoming an official supporter of the Pop Culture Preservation Society on Patreon. This show is created, researched, produced, distributed, edited, and paid for by us, Kristen, Carolyn, and Michelle. And your support allows us to keep the lights on and keep on trucking. For the price of 1 or 2 cups of coffee a month, you can become a supporter by going to poppreservationists.com and clicking on the Patreon link. Or go to our link in bio on Instagram and find the Patreon link in our link tree. We appreciate you and thank you so much for helping us do what we love.
Welcome back to another PCPS Light, our episodes that are light on prep, but heavy on opinions and most definitely tangents. And usually sparked by something that we saw or we read or we couldn't stop thinking about. And in my case, something that I knew I had to talk to Kristen and Michelle about. And so what's great about these lights is I can just say, oh, that's an episode. I don't even have to start, feverishly texting you guys about something. I'll save that for the episode. And today's episode, it's all about the idea that this world is finally catching up to Gen X, because analog is definitely having a moment. And that is what we're going to talk about today. I was inspired after reading an essay in Gabrielle Blair's Substack. Gabrielle Blair is a great writer. She's a designer. She's all the things. I will link to this piece in our show notes, but it was titled, "The Analog Revival Has Arrived." And it basically says that, this isn't just all about nostalgia. There is science, you guys. There is science behind what we've been talking about. I feel like we were a little ahead of the curve.
Yeah.
And so one of the things that struck me in Gabrielle's essay was a list of stats that kind of show us that things might be taking a little bit of a turn toward analog and maybe finding that balance between digital and analog, as we have spoken about so often on this podcast. So just listen to some of these stats. U.S. vinyl record sales topped $1.04 billion in 2025, the first time since 1983.
God, isn't that crazy?
Oh my gosh.
That is crazy. And that would have been the last, that's right when you started buying cassettes. So you can see where it just whoop, it fell off the cliff in 1983.
Yeah.
Right. And it's actually the 19th consecutive year of growth for vinyl records.
Wow.
So this has been gaining some traction, much like, 5 years ago, we started this podcast kind of because of these discussions. Kodak reports that 35 millimeter film demand doubled between 2021 and 2026.
That's my kid.
Yes. That is my kid, too.
Yeah.
I mean, so many of these, our kids are ahead of the curve, too, because there'll be things, and probably yours, too, Michelle, will be saying, well, my kid's been doing that for the last 3 years. Well, good for our kids. Maybe we need to invest in a film developing company because they're going to go back into
a photo hut.
The Targets.
Yeah.
And maybe a photo mat. Maybe like a little coffee/photo mat in the middle of a parking lot with little tables and you can sit around. Maybe we'll have scrapbook stuff at it and books and people can just chat and look at my picture of the bear.
And a turntable.
There'll be a DJ
okay, we're designing this. Everybody listening, you can't take this idea. Trademarked, right. PCPS.
That's right. And you know what else it's going to have, Michelle? It's going to have needlepoint. Because guess what?
Yes.
Needlepoint searches are up 251% year over year.
I believe
year over year.
Yes. And how much of that is due to, do you guys watch, do you guys watch Instagram? Do you follow the Tiny Pricks Project?
Yes.
Okay,
Yes.
so I think this certainly inspired me, and I'm sure that other people are being inspired. And
Tell everybody what that is, Kristen.
I can't remember what her name is. Please excuse me, but you can find her book called Craftivism, and she has an Instagram account called the Tiny Pricks Project, where she posts her not her needlepoint, but her embroidery every day,
yep.
where she's generally embroidering sayings or quotations from people in the news. And this has been hugely inspiring to me. It's cute and it's vintage and it's retro and it's so Instagram ready. And I think that's inspiring not just us, but everybody of every age.
Yes,
Yeah.
it feels so good
Diana.
to do that. Those that Craftivision book, is that how I know?
Craftivism, as in activism. Craftivism.
Yes,
yeah.
right.
Mm-hmm.
Is also really inspiring. It's like you feel like you're killing a bunch of birds with one stone.
Absolutely.
Forgive that analogy, but or a phrase, idiom. I wish there was a better one. But yeah, I love, biggest bang for our buck. So that's definitely one of those. And also in terms of needles and thread, sewing pattern searches are up 152%. And I even love this. Visible mending searches are up 144%.
This is cool. So, this is very, very cool. Yeah. And Liam even brought me his pants one time, and he wanted his pants mended, and he said, and if you want to do the stitches on the outside, that's okay. Like, you don't have to hide them.
Right. I just bought, because I can fall down the Instagram ad rabbit hole. I haven't even taken it out of the box yet, but it's a little like a mini little weaving contraption that you put over like a hole.
This. Yeah.
And then you stitch, and it looks like a little pattern of, of weaving.
It's very cute.
It's adorable. And it, of course, looked really adorable at like midnight one night. And so then it arrives from the Ukraine. And I felt like, and I'm buying something from the Ukraine. I am such a good person. It finally came, but it's still in the box. So
you have
we'll
to go
work on
tear
that.
holes in your clothes, though. That's what I would do. I would be like, well, then I got to go tear some holes in my clothes to be able to use this.
That's right. Well, and on top of all that, I think Michael's, the craft store, kind of saw, something is growing here. There's a little demand for all this. And they've declared 2026 the year of creative living in the analog era.
Wow.
So they're even
kidding? I love that. Yeah.
I know. Me too. The market size for stationery was $3.45 billion in 2025. It's projected to grow to $5.12 billion, $5.12 billion by 2034, a growth rate of 4.8%.
And that's something that was dead, right? Like that was dead. Writing a letter was dead.
Exactly. Listen to this. The high-end pen market, we all love a good pen, is projected to grow from 4.6% to 4.8% through the next 5 years.
And I just heard that cursive is coming back in schools.
I'm so glad you said that.
Yes.
Guess whose the latest state is? Pennsylvania on April 11th. Yes, voted that in. There are now 25 states that require it in their curriculum. And all for the reasons that we've kind of, know as teachers and writers. But the brain development, there's a huge science piece to that. And also, let's just face it, being able to sign legal documents and read historical documents, read primary sources. How are you going to read some of this stuff?
My younger daughter, who is about to turn 25, so we're going all the way back now 9 years. When she got her driver's license, she panicked because this was 9 years ago. She was like, I don't know really. She knows how to write her name in cursive, but she hadn't done it in so long. She's like, I don't have a signature. Like I've signed my name. Me, Michelle, I've signed my name the same for decades and decades decades, right?
Yeah.
And she's like, I can do it, but that doesn't look good. So she was like practicing forever.
It's not authentic. It's not really a signature.
She didn't have a signature because up until then, age 16, she hadn't had to write in cursive or sign her name in cursive anywhere.
And it's really our kids. So the Gen Xers, the Gen Xers' children, the Gen Zers, are the ones who didn't get cursive because it really wasn't out of the schools for that long. 10 to 20 years? Was it pulled out 15 years ago? It's
I don't know.
our kids who
in
missed
2010, it was only like 14 states required it.
Okay.
So pre-2010, like when our kids were, well, I mean, it started to pick up after 2010, but just a little bit. So yeah, totally our kids' generation. And I mean, I taught it in my school. You had to write your papers in cursive. Sometimes I let my kids who had bad cursive write it in print, but it was definitely pen to paper, blue ink, the whole thing.
That's 90s, right?
Yes.
And so our kids are in middle school in the, or elementary school and middle school in the aughts and the 2010s. And that's when I remember I went to a school meeting, and it was, I have to say it's a male teacher because I'll tell you why in a minute. So somebody asked about the fact that he wasn't teaching them cursive. And he said, well, let's be honest, does anybody really write cursive anymore? And all the women's hands went up. And I have to add, it was all the women too who were having to do the writing for all of the permission slips and the everything
checks.
that has the checks. Yes,
checks.
Everything is written by the woman of the household. I'm generalizing. If you're a man and you do that, please excuse me. This is just a generalization. And so I just thought it was interesting that he was just so casual and cavalier about the fact that they didn't need it. Now, like you said, they're discovering that there is a connection between handwriting and what happens with your brain, including reading. So I don't know how many of you know this, but the middle grade reading scores have been plummeting over the last 15 years, the exact same amount of time that they've not been requiring cursive. And now they're understanding that writing those letters is a way of helping you understand the letters and how they go together. So, I mean, duh.
Well, of course, again, people, we kind of know these things.
Yeah.
And it's also, there are parts of our brain that they are seeing now that are not developing in the same way and rate or stuff that used to be lighting up a lot more on those, whatever they are called, those brain imaging images that they get. So I'm not science people, but there's science that backs up what I think. And there are parts of our brains and our kids' brains that are not as developed as maybe ours were at that age.
Yeah.
When we were that age.
Yeah.
I remember back when we were all in writing group together. Oh, that was fun. Yeah. But I remember even, before we even started the podcast, being in writing group, and when we have just free writing time, Carolyn, you always had a notebook out with your pen. I would always bring my laptop because I could just go faster, and we only had 20 minutes to write.
Yeah, that's true.
And in that 20 minutes, I was lucky if I got, 5 sentences out. And then Carolyn would just be going to town. And so I tried it one time. I brought my notebook and my pen. And one, my hand got crampy. But two, I just couldn't. I had so much pressure in the 20 minutes. And then you have to read what you wrote. And then, there's people reading, 4 pages of stuff. And I'd be like, I have a paragraph. But what I was going to say is I love that. I love the idea going back to writing your thoughts. And that's why we all keep journals probably too. But there was another thought I had, and you know why? Because I didn't write it down.
Yes,
it was in my head.
If you had written it in cursive.
Well, you know what it was? It was the letter thing. I was talking about our penmanship and our cursive, and we've gotten out of writing a lot, even though I do write in journals, and I do write by hand many times a day, be it in my planner or my journal or whatever. It's way less than I used to, right? So since I've been writing letters to people, my hand gets so crampy. So basically, I think I just go, and I really don't care. I'm like, you know what? If it's okay if it's a little sloppy, because I have to get all these thoughts out. And once my hand starts really cramping, that tells me I'm done. Then I'm like, okay, hands.
Michelle.
And that's how I end most of my letters. I'm like, okay, hands started to cramp, so I'm done now. I'll write again next month.
Yeah. And it's the perfect age for us to start to reuse this stuff because it's getting, our hands is what I'm referring to, because of all the arthritis and all that kind of thing. But that reminded me, when you were talking, Michelle, did either of you have calluses on your thumb or your fingers?
Writer's bump. I had a big writer's bump. I still have it. It's huge.
Yes. Yeah, it's right here.
Well, I would get this big one on my thumb, which probably shows you that I didn't hold my Right. That was a whole other thing. Remember the teachers coming by and showing you how to hold the
People would write
utensil?
like this. Some people would write like this.
Oh, that's Taylor Swift. That's how she signs 2,000
Is it
CDs
really?
in a night. Yeah. She holds it like
you
that.
You put it between your first two fingers, almost like a cigarette, and then tip it forward, and you start writing. I can't. I always wrote like this. Yeah, actually, that's kind of handy now that I'm holding it like that.
I think she does that on purpose because, like I said, she's signing 2,000 CDs every day. She has to figure out, there's no way you just go into that holding your pen any old way. You have to figure out how to do it so that you can actually do it. And that must be what she's figured out. Hold it between your index and your middle finger and your pointer finger. I asked Liam about the film thing when I saw that stat about, because I knew that photographers were moving toward film again. I didn't realize that younger people were moving toward film as well. I thought it was just Liam. No, he's not the only one. And there's one camera shop that does all, like a one-stop shop here in town. It does the developing, it does sales, it does scanning, it does everything that you need for both digital and film cameras. You guys, that place is hopping. It is slammed. I had to pick up something for him. I'm like, look at all these people at the film shop. It's crazy. So I asked Liam, like, why? Why? Because he has a myriad cameras. He has digital ones too, and he likes to use film. And I asked, well, so what is it that attracts you about film? And it's really lining up with, I think, what people are starting to understand. And he said, it makes you think about each shot more. And it's like you have to slow down and consider what you're doing because you only get a certain number of exposures. There are only 36 exposures. I'm not going to waste it. So you have to go slower and more considerate. He also said, this surprised me, and it was really instructive to me. He said, and it's more mechanical. I said, what do you mean more mechanical? He said, well, a digital camera or your phone, it just does everything for you. You don't have to think about it. You don't have to adjust. You don't have to turn any knobs. Like he's actually liking the manipulation of knobs and levers and triggers. And I think
focusing.
Focusing things. Yes, focusing the lens and things like that. And I think what gets missed in this conversation is our need to be tactile. Like your brain requires your hands to do things in order to think and be and do and develop. And when everything is done on a screen and the only thing your hands do is type, I mean, pretty soon we're going to be like amoeba. We're just going to evolve. Our brains will stop evolving. And so, and especially when you think about different learning styles, do you guys have assess your learning style? Are you a visual learner, an auditory learner, a tactile learner?
Kinesthetic
learner. Think about all of the tactile kinesthetic learners out there who are not learning in the way that suits them best. Are they failing the test because it's all done on a keyboard? It's not fair.
100%.
It's not fair.
And then some of the stuff I read, to your point about your hands doing stuff, I read that is like built into human beings to have our hands doing things. And so, it's almost like those scary tech billionaires knew that too and made these devices such that they had to use our hands because that's like this primary need that we have that fills something in us. I didn't even know that was a thing, but evidently it is. And so when you talked about how Liam's hands were actually engaged in this activity and some of the activities we mentioned in terms of needle pointing and writing letters and all of that, it feels good on some level we might not even be able to articulate because it is built into our systems.
Yes.
And these seem to be much healthier ways to do it, some of the activities we're talking about, than just this incessant thing on our devices.
And I just want to interject something on that note is that I think there's space going forward for both. Like I feel like for all of us that are very creative people, Liam being one to say, just by him saying, I want to, he wants to manipulate, like he wants to, you said mechanical, but in my mind, I'm thinking of manipulate, the focus and the changing the f-stops. And that's a very creative thing that was taken away from him that in the other cameras that he wants. For me, and we'll talk about this, I'm sure in a minute, like what we all do. But like for me, art and creative therapy is so important in my days, right? So getting back, and this is backed up by Michael saying it's gonna, its sales are going through the roof. All of us want to get back to, and it can be something as easy as, coloring books right now, like adult coloring books booming, and all the different markers you can buy for that. So for all of us that are creatives, and by creatives, I don't mean we are we have to go sell our stuff. This is just the
we're
crap
not
we want
artists. That's not it.
Well, we are, but we're just the crap we want to do it for ourselves, to feed our own soul, let's just say. This is a great, exciting time because of all the different, stickers. My God, stickers are everywhere now, and I eat them up because I use them. I stick them all in paper. In my journal, I make
and now we're
rainbow.
using them because life is short.
Use them. Right. I know. I just posted something
on stuff. Yeah.
On Instagram the other day, because I have so many sticker books for over the past couple of years, you guys. And just in my journal, just because this brought me joy, you do a whole page where there's in rainbow order. So I just have there's probably, 200 stickers on this page, but they're red, yellow, orange. They're all, or red, orange, they're all in the order. So use your stickers. But what I was going to say is I can see that there's still space for both, right?
Oh,
right. Which
is
really exciting.
Styles, right?
But
it's all about your learning style. You have to lean into the one that belongs to you.
I love that now it's not either or. We're having space for both. And yes, I know that, 10 years ago, you could still do an adult coloring book. It's just not as popular as it is now, is what we're saying, people. Right. If you're well, you could play the guitar 10 years ago, you could color, you could needlepoint 10 years ago. We know that. It's just that we were all so in tune to our phones and how cool our iPads were. And hey, look, I can do a slot machine on my iPad. This kind of stuff.
People are
we're
craving
just
it
now
for a reason.
Holding space for both.
Well, and I think we're that bridge again, because we've done it both ways. And so we realized after the novelty of our iPads or whatever, I'm not maybe getting what I got before. We're noticing there's a difference. And to your point, Michelle, I think it's really important to say and to acknowledge that we are not at all saying technology is awful and, get rid of it and everything should be analog. Yeah. I think the key is, how do we use those technological advances to free up more of our time to do these analog activities? So instead of filling that now additional time you have because of technology with more technology, well, that's, I think, where we have to find that balance too, is technology is great, like a lot of things in life, until it isn't, and to be mindful.
Yeah, and I wish I could remember where I saw this. I don't know if it was an album. I don't know if it was an article or if somebody told it to me personally. If you said it to me, please call me and let me know. But somebody said, how many parents of young children right now are wishing you could get a hold of a first generation iPod? Okay, that's digital generation. That's for a digital native, but it's different because it allows you to choose and hold the music that you want your child to listen to, or the music that your child wants to listen to. Either way,
and you own it. And you own that music on an iPod.
That's right. And
you had to buy
instead
those.
of giving them a subscription to something where they own nothing and they have access to everything and they can't choose anything and nothing is satisfying. And so I wish I could remember where I heard this, but I thought that's interesting because that's not going full on analog at all, but it is showing where the technology stopped meeting our needs and actually made, there's diminishing returns on convenience.
Yes.
And I do think I read somewhere, did I read this somewhere, you guys? Or I might be making it up, but if I'm making it up, it sounds really smart. But I think that there's also, and Carolyn, maybe you have a stat for this, that flip phones, people are wanting to get rid of their iPhones and their smartphones, and they're going back. A lot of people are going back to flip phones, and a lot of people, I think we read this in that Substack, are ditching their Apple Watches and going back to just their watch or just a digital watch. I know. I kind of want one too. The only reason I need my Apple Watch is I use it for my health app and I use it to track all that kind of stuff. But you remember when I had a Fitbit that I wore with my watch?
Yeah.
like I also feel like, but what do I do with that information? Nothing really. And I kind of want, go back to a fun watch
Keep
and
a
not
little-
have, because if I forget to put my phone on silence when I'm in Pilates, my wrist is buzzing.
Yes.
And so that takes me out of that meditative moment.
Yeah.
And I'm looking like, what did I forget to do? I just think that a lot of people, even our age, are saying, you know what, this was great, but now it's become a distraction, and I'm going to go back
exhausting.
to my flip phone.
I think that was a common thread I read through all of this, is that there is this, at least for me, a feeling like I always need to be checking. And did I check? And then if I see a text, do I have to respond right now? And I feel like the last 15 years, even, I've been living in this. Like catch up, like hamster wheel. Oh my gosh, I'm behind, I'm behind, I'm behind. And as we age,
really,
it's exhausting.
That contributes to that anxiety so much. Like, I'm sure there's been studies done, but that's a really good point, Carolyn. This has contributed to all of us feeling like, like we're on hamster wheels. A really funny stat I did just read is that this is kind of funny and also kind of sad, but hemorrhoids are up.
Oh my
hemorrhoids
God.
in young people, like doctors didn't used to see young people getting hemorrhoids, but they're seeing so many hemorrhoids in young people because they sit on the toilet with their phone.
Shut up.
For so long. So if you're done pottying and you're still just sitting there, the pressure that becomes on. Well, so people are sitting there for 15 minutes on their phone when they just had to go in and pee. And
Yes.
I just read that somewhere.
Yourself, and you lose the sense of time as well. And I was with some friends this last weekend, and something that really struck me, we were trying to decide, it was friends from out of town, when we were going to get together again and trying to sync our calendars. And someone said, I only have 52 weeks in a year. I want to be really mindful about how I spend those 52 weekends, rather. He said, I only have 52 weekends in a year. And it struck me like, and let's face it, you guys, we have fewer weekends ahead of us than we have behind us. I mean, I know, but I want it not to be like maudlin about it, but to also recognize, like, let's monitor like how we're spending our time. If I spend an hour sitting on the toilet when all I had to do was take a pee-pee, that's an hour, again, I'll never get back. And what did I have to show for it? I couldn't even tell you what I have to show for it. I saw Michelle's cute needlepoint, but she would have probably sent me a picture anyway of it in a text. I didn't have to see it on Instagram. It's being thoughtful.
I keep this might be too much information, but everybody has to sit on the toilet at some point. I now keep I got a Barnes & Noble, just the actual word search book with like a couple of colored markers. Now, listen, I have word searches on my iPad, but the whole idea is not to take an electronics into the bathroom with you. So you guys go, or you could go to CVS. You could get a Sudoku book. You could get whatever you want. I personally love word searches. I have since I was about 7. Yes. So it's just like
you can even go analog in the bathroom. And this, I think, all of us do it. Everybody does it. Everybody just you know that you do. And this will be the one thing that will change your mind and will make your bathroom an analog place. They've done studies on how much fecal matter is on telephones. Did I just say telephones?
I think of that every time.
Yes. It's like the most
disgusting.
Out of everything in your house.
Down next to them and flush.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and you're holding it and everything. It's like before you wash your hands. Yes. Or for some people, like they'll set it down. You might set it down on.
You set it down. You wipe. You pick it back up to go into your.
Exactly.
Crazy.
Another thing you could take into the bathroom with you, everyone?
What's that?
I know what you're going to say. Remind Magazine, because the back of Remind Magazine has about 6 pages of the best puzzles, crosswords, word searches, Sudokus, all the great stuff. And you know what? If you use this URL code to order, remindmagazine.com/pop, you can get a whole year of Remind Magazine for just $12.
That was not planned. That was a thing of beauty.
No, that was perfect.
Tremendous.
And it's a great segue into exactly what I want to talk about, which is the rise again of physical magazines.
Yeah.
I think I have shared with you guys that Grace wanted a actual magazine subscription that would arrive in the mail for Christmas, and she got Vogue. And she is not alone. Magazine subscriptions are kind of on the rise. And listen to this, you guys. I'm so excited. I'm going to reach out to this woman and I'm going to go visit. She's 37, so we're talking, whatever Jen that
millennial,
is.
I
She
think.
has opened in Portland, Maine, a magazine store. A magazine store. It just has magazines and stationery and cards.
Wow.
Yes, her name is Stacy Mitchell. She said she was traveling in Europe and she decided one of the things she was going to do was get a Vogue magazine from every different country that she visited. And she was amazed at how different they were just kind of by country and how much more or how readily available they were. And she decided that this was this dream she had. And it's taken a while to kind of get off the ground. But she said it has been amazing. She got this, storefront for really not a whole lot of money. She said it is so great, one, to have people come in and just like exhale when they come in, probably Gen Xers. And she curates these magazines. So I'm not saying this is like, cheesy magazines that you can necessarily get at the newsstand, some of those, but these are kind of those artful, like a Vogue, the magazines that are pieces of art, really, that you can actually, she talks about the paper and the texture of the paper and the size and the color and all of those things. And she said, so these probably Gen Xers come in and are like, oh my gosh, this is great. And then she said recently a little girl came in and bought her first magazine. And the Stacy, the owner, said it just gave her this good feeling inside to think this might be the beginning of something. Like I have helped this little girl realize there is this thing that's not on a screen that she can flip through and engage with. And I thought, oh my gosh, this is amazing. So if you're in Portland, Maine, this is where Stacy's store is located. I'm going to put a link to it. Stacy doesn't even know I'm doing this, but I think I want more of these in the world. And she said there's a coffee shop next door, so it works really well. People will come in, slowly peruse these magazines, and then go over to the coffee shop. And I thought, yes, Stacy. And she's not old. She's not like us thinking, I miss
she's
a
craving it too. Like this is, I think the point here is that it's not we Gen Xers who are reviving it. It's the people younger than us who are reviving it because they are figuring out that they're missing something.
Yeah.
And we knew we were missing something.
Well, that's the thing.
They didn't know. Yeah.
That's why this feels so validating.
One of my favorite things to do when I just need a break. I just am like, if I'm feeling super anxious, I try to do this if I've had a dentist appointment or something, is I go to my local Barnes & Noble. And I say that only because I don't have another independent bookstore near me. Otherwise, I would love to go to Big Hill Books if that was my, if I lived close. We do have Tattered Covers, but they're owned by Barnes & Noble now. So it's the same thing.
Yes, the same thing.
But I have a Barnes & Noble super close to me. I mean, I'm probably like 7 minutes away. And I go and I look at the magazines. And the magazines are incredible. And you can buy Remind Magazine, by the way, that's your Remind Magazine.
But you get a much better deal.
Yeah, it's 86% more money if you buy it at Barnes & Noble. Then you can get a whole year for, I think it's like $6.99 for one issue. You can get a whole year for $12 if you use our code. Okay, anyway, but when I was there last time, and I had boxes open because they were refilling a lot of the magazines. And you guys, it just thrilled me so much. They were all wrapped up in their plastic, but they were all highlights magazines. Oh, and I was so excited to see that like, they're unwrapping the highlights to put out. And I thought, I wonder how many they sell. Like, I wonder if kids
I do
come
too. I wonder that all the time.
Yeah.
Well, you know what? For listeners, if you have grandkids or any young people in your life, next holiday or birthday, get them a subscription that will come in the mail to Highlights Magazine, because I cannot imagine how excited a child would be when they're, like if you said to them, go run to the mailbox and get the mail, and they see something addressed to them that's going to be hours of fun.
It's
gosh.
It's
huge. We remember that.
Yes.
Whether it was 17.
My daughter was Ranger Rick for my little girl, for Ellie.
And Ranger Rick.
And we still have a tub of them because they're they're old, and I have one of my old, apparently I subscribed to Sesame Street magazine because I found one in all of my mom's stuff that has like my old address on it. And they're so cute. But my girls used to get so excited when the Ranger Rick would come in the mail.
Yes.
And there's a new magazine out that is, sometimes these new magazines are harder to find because these are startups and they're not necessarily things that you're going to see at the grocery store. This is one for like middle school age kids, and it's called Anyway magazine. And it's very much a throwback to like Young Miss, where, how to stretch your allowance, or there's a column for if you have a crush, somebody's going to answer your questions about if you have a crush. But the thing that's nice about it is that it's kind of unisex. It's not necessarily just
like
for
a beauty
girls.
Tips and
That's
all of that.
Right. It is very, like, there's some kid who's showing you skateboard tricks or something like that. And the photography is really great. And it felt like such a throwback. And I really want kids to have magazines again. I taught a writing class this weekend, and we had to teach the kids, they were reading Worldwide Crush, and we had to teach them what a magazine was and why it was important to your crush, because it's all about the posters. And we're like, a poster was a thing that you'd pull out of the magazine, you'd put it on your wall. And they were like, really? They had no idea. And this is
Remind magazine has posters in it, like pinups.
Oh my God.
This time it was that girl. It's Marlo Thomas, right?
It was Marlo Thomas.
Yeah, I got mine.
A lot of
so
times
funny.
it's been David Cassidy before. It's been movie posters. I know.
That's like honoring us. It's like tongue in cheek, a little wink, right? It's honoring us in this thing that we had. There's no reason for it to go away. How could anyone argue that it's better to have everything digital so that you can't put it on your wall?
The issue becomes, as we all know, we're late stage capitalism.
Yeah.
It has to do with the pricing and, these print publications, whether it's an actual newspaper or a magazine, it becomes, not cost effective between advertisers saying, I'm going to spend my money online because that's where people are spending their time, to the cost of paper. And you have to pay these, journalists. They work hard. I mean, that's
and artists
thing.
And photographers.
Exactly. And graphic designers.
Yep.
I want to add that there is actually one now for Gen Xers, a print publication that's coming out. I wish they had changed the name a little bit, but they have their reasonings. It's called Geezer. Okay.
Oh,
I know.
Oh, my God.
But it is a big, bold, print-only magazine made for Gen X, the first generation to grow up on reruns and the last to come of age in analog. It's delivered to your mailbox 3 times a year, and it goes deep on the issues that define us. And it's an 11 by 15 coffee table magazine.
Whoa.
So it's another kind of fun thing.
Yeah.
So did you say it's like large print?
It didn't say
Well,
that.
it's big and bold, I think. I was thinking like large print, which would be
Helvetica.
super helpful.
That could be why it is 11 by 15 size. We might, I'm going to, I think after this episode, I'm actually going to reach out to the Geezers, because right here it says the Geezers behind Geezer, and it does a little about page.
Oh yeah, let's definitely do. Let's support Geezer. We're promoting him pretty hard right now, but I was just thinking I'd like to go order that.
No kidding.
Yes. I think those are some of the people I'm going to reach out to, because they know that we're on the brink of something.
Yeah.
Forbes magazine has actually called 2026 the year of analog living. So this is Forbes. So think of who gets Forbes magazine.
That's
this
right.
isn't just Gen Xers waxing about how life used to be great. This is a magazine that business people, economists, a lot of people, subscribe to, whether it's their newsletter, whatever. But they are recognizing that analog living is the future.
And maybe they
I think
could
that's
make
powerful.
money. That at the end of the day,
Well, yeah.
that's if somebody can make money from it, then we can start a real movement. And I think we've proven here that people are craving it. They're craving something different, and they're going to start making products to help us out. I wanted to talk about my embroidery a little bit, because this is a new thing for me. I haven't been doing embroidery all my life. I know our moms did big needlepoint and embroidery projects that they put on the wall, but that wasn't me. But it was really the Tiny Pricks project on Instagram that inspired me, because she was embroidering these sayings that were really like saying exactly what I wanted to say. So then I started perusing around it wasn't just pretty pictures, right? Like there's pretty stuff that that was cute and I wanted to do it, but I didn't think that I had the attention or the skill to do it. But when she's just doing words, I'm like, I can do words. And that might actually be healthy for me. And so I tooled around and I bought some. I'll show you the very first one I did was, where is it? Okay. The very first one I did, this is what it says. To all the men that I offended in 2024 with my feminism, try not to be so emotional and smile more because 2025 is going to be way worse. And I'm going to show it to you. You guys, it's not good. I'm not good at this. It's sloppy.
First of all, it's great, but it doesn't have to be.
Yeah.
Yeah,
perfect.
The point I realized was that I was not creating a product. I was doing something with my hand, and I was processing my emotions through what I was doing with my hands. And so I really let go of my perfectionism, which I think a lot of people don't start projects like this because of perfectionism, and they want it to be good and they want it to be pretty. And I realized it didn't have to be. I didn't even have to do anything with these things that I created. So then I got another one that says, my favorite season is the fall of the patriarchy. And then I realized, and then you can just, say nice things like, here's one that says, be the good. I haven't started that one yet.
Look at her. I'm going to interrupt you for just a second because I want everyone to know when Kristen just offhandedly in writing group or something, she didn't have any of these things to show. And she said something like, yes, I've taken up embroidery. I about fell off my chair. I'm sorry. And Kristen, it's just not the image you portray to the world that Kristen's going to sit down with a needle and thread and just, embroider. And so this is so perfect for her. I can't even begin to tell you. And it's so adorable. First, it is cute.
They're really
but cute
patterns,
in a way.
Yeah.
Or maybe cute isn't the right word, but it's great. And it's so Kristen.
It shows that that these things they're not just for one certain kind of person. They can serve you in different ways, especially if you let go of it being perfect. And then I realized, here's one I bought says, bitch, take up all the space you need. There's bitch, take up all the space you need. In my feminist rage era, then I realized that I could make my own. If I was just going to do words, not patterns, but just words, I could make up whatever I wanted and just print it out and stitch it. And so now I've started using it. I've started designing mantras and things I need to remind myself of. And then as you stitch it, that becomes your mantra. So I'm working on creativity, not productivity. I'm trying to lessen. It's not about being productive. It's about the process. You have no boss. This is something that the three of us say all the time when we feel pressure to do X, Y, and Z. And we're like, wait a minute, we don't have a boss. We can make whatever decision we want. Kristen, reminding myself, you have no boss. Bird by bird is something that writers say to each other. Yes. Like, how do you start this project? Bird by bird. Yeah, that comes from Anne Lamott. And there are lots that are like too naughty to say on the air. There's one hanging in my kitchen that says, in my fuck off era. I have that one. And so
I love that.
And there's one I have it says, just be. Just be. Okay, it's not a project. I'm telling myself. And how am I telling myself? By stitching it. It's really an effective form of meditation for me.
Well, think about it. Yes. And again, the brain and so while your hand is doing this thing and you're saying this mantra, there's something going on in your brain. And I want to follow up what you were saying about it doesn't have to be perfect and all of that, because I found a great article in Mindful magazine.
I love that magazine.
Yes, I do too. They have a print version, and then of course, they have online, which again, it can be both and. Sometimes a short, quick article that's digital that wouldn't necessarily fit somewhere in the print publication, but can be really informative. And so this article was basically about how analog living is really important for our brains and for the slowing down, not just because it's fun or whatever the things. I mean, there was some real science behind it. And I really loved this piece that they talked about, which is to your point, Kristen. It is that every piece of digital technology has been brilliantly designed, expertly designed to remove friction, to make things faster, smoother, more seamless. You don't have to wait or be patient. You don't have to sit with uncertainty on the surface. And while that sounds wonderful, we are losing out on something so basic that this is a meditation teacher who's writing this about sitting in kind of the uncomfortable, in the imperfect, and being okay with that. We are so, as a society, not willing to do that. And I just thought, just that whole idea of starting, and it doesn't have to be perfect, and that in the imperfection is really something super powerful that's beneficial to us, if that makes sense.
I cannot underestimate, overestimate. I can't whatever, people, I can't speak.
Yeah.
Anyway, the therapy that it has been for me to let go of what it looks like, to let go that I'm not doing something like when I tell you, I don't know how to do embroidery, you guys. I don't even have the patience to watch a YouTube video on how to do a certain stitch. So there are no fancy stitches. I'm just kind of doing it however I make it up. And to let go of the achieving, of the perfectionism, it's hugely therapeutic and quite necessary for me at this moment in my life. It's not just that it's good for you. Sure, everybody should let go of their perfectionism. But some people have bigger issues than others, and this was a biggie for me.
Yeah.
That not everything has to be perfect. You don't have to get an A on everything.
Yes. And here, listen to this, what this meditation expert says. When he's talking about what activities you could choose, what analog activities might work for you, he said, pick what your inner critic dismisses. For instance, exactly what you said, Kristen. He said, I almost didn't go to an abstract art class because a voice in my head said, but you're not an artist. That voice is often a useful clue. The thing it tries to talk you out of that's silly, that's frivolous, that's not productive, is frequently the thing your nervous system most needs.
Yeah. Yep.
Mic drop.
So
and I think that's exactly what you said.
Yeah.
That is exactly what your body and your mind need to hear and reset your whole nervous system.
And we did it naturally as children. We did it naturally, and we didn't judge ourselves in the same way. I mean, think of all of the hobbies, the analog hobbies that you had when you were a kid. I did calligraphy. I did stamp collecting. I did latch hooking. I did, what else did I do?
By numbers.
Oh, I did. Here's my sticker book.
Spirograph. Here's my list. Here's
I'm just
my
going to
list
show you
of
my sticker. This is my and I put who I got the stickers from. These are from Trisha Wallstrom. I don't know where Trish is.
Way to go, Trisha.
Dayton's. I've got some from Dayton's bookstore. These are from Christy Bougie. I mean, and that is a tactile hobby, taking my stickers and putting them in a design in my sticker book.
I still do it. Oh, yeah. For me, my art and creative therapy is just so necessary in my life. And it wasn't like I always did fun art stuff with my kids when they were little, but I just didn't have the type of time that I have now that I'm an empty nester. But I was just trying to brainstorm all the things that I do. And when I say I do these, I do like needlepoint and needlepoint finishing I do daily. Like I do that every single night to just kind of put everything in order for myself. But we're different that way. And you can be different. Like I like a lot of things that are very open-ended, and messy, and I don't have to be perfect, but I also sometimes just because of you guys call it my what do you call it? My
trauma
talent is because I grew up with everything very chaotic and disorderly. I sometimes need things like needlepoint, cross stitch, crochet, something that's very, very orderly. But the things I do on a weekly basis, like junk journal, paper collage, right? My journal anymore is not just a journal. I have stickers in there and I do different types of lettering so I have a creative journal, needlepoint, and then I finish all my needlepoint stuff. Cross stitch, diamond art, watercolor, rock painting, paint by numbers, crochet, stickers. These are things I do on a weekly basis. And sometimes Brian, we have a really big kitchen island. And sometimes on a Sunday, I'll be like, I'm just going to have an art therapy day. And he's like, great. And he'll come in and he'll be like, you have art therapy ADD because I have 5 different things out because I can't decide. I'm like, I want to do it all. Or I just want to color. I didn't even put coloring. Yeah. I have so many of the fun coloring books and all the different acrylic markers and alcohol markers. And I love it all so much. And I don't know what I would do without it. It's such an important part of my life.
Yeah.
All of this is ripping paper. And do you guys remember when we did that at the Eric Carle Museum? How much fun you had?
Yes.
So rip paper, you guys. Just rip paper and glue it. And then I have so many letters, and I cut letters out of magazines, or I cut sayings, or I'll cut I just got this I got a new cut and collage book where it could be a giant cat you cut out, and then on his back are little people or a little leaning tower of Pisa. Do funny, stupid collages just that make you laugh and make you smile. Nobody's ever going to see them. I'm probably going to throw them away.
Yes.
And that's what is so fun, because I will put one of my audiobooks on and I'll just sit there and just have, an hour of just cutting and
and gluing.
Yes.
And I need that. I need
You
that right
do.
now. And I don't know why, but
Well,
I do.
I think we do know a little bit why now, as we've, shared a little bit of research on why some of these things fill us in ways that we didn't even understand. And some of it is it's built into us. It's built into us.
It's primal.
Be
yeah,
stuff.
and maybe it's just digital fatigue.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And the permission.
100%. Yes.
And I do think it's because we all are just fatigued by screens.
Yeah. Well, and I think it was that second article you sent us, Carolyn, that talked about how your mind races as you engage with screens. You're consuming information at an astronomical rate, whether it's important information or not. It could be, dog videos. Are you watching Golden Doodle videos? Yes, I am. Are you consuming headlines? Yes, I am. Are you watching all of the commentary on those headlines? Yes, I am. And then your brain it's like a tornado in your brain, and it can't stop swirling. And so in order to feed it, you keep feeding it. You keep feeding it the headlines and whatnot. And they, in that article you sent, they said doing an analog activity with your hands is the only thing that will slow down the tornado that is in your brain. And so our kids have naturally figured that out. And if you, like the moment that you are trying to focus your camera and compose a shot, you have to slow the F down, right? And we are in the midst of a mental health crisis with kids and teens. Everybody listening to this, all of us on this screen, everybody has had a child who has struggled with their mental health. And the question is always, why? Oh, come on, we know why. We know why. And it could be that they are healing themselves right now by turning to these things that will help them slow down and stop the tornado that is in their brain.
Yes. Oh, that's so well said. 100%. And in that same article that you talked about, I loved this point that the author made. He said that a phrase that has caught his attention recently is brain wealth. I mean, we talk a lot about brain health, but brain wealth is the idea that mental longevity comes from slow, attentive activities, long-form reading, writing by hand, making something with your hand. Or your hands. We can make our brains wealthier, you guys, by doing these things and in turn helping our mental longevity. Isn't that at our age kind of one of the things we're doing? We're like, oh, I better play this game. I better do this, just by slowing down and being mindful and participating in an activity that requires those skills.
Yeah.
You're helping your brain. You don't need to take a drug. It's right at your fingertips, literally.
I mean, that's on the one hand, that's very encouraging. On the other hand, it's almost so super scary when you think of how we are living so attached to our phones in the bathroom. Like, we don't ever put our phones away. They're always in our pocket constantly. And if our brain wealth is determined by slow, considerate movements, we are screwed.
Yes, we
are.
are.
Unless we do something, right?
Yes. We don't want to go bankrupt.
Yeah.
And some people, I think, are maybe past that. But again, the slowing down and the release of the perfection. I think the three of us can say that's something that haunts us. And I know some of my kids, at least one of my children, that's on her shoulder all the time. But leaning into that inner critic that says it has to be perfect. You can't do that because you don't know how to. You guys, this podcast wouldn't exist if we waited till we knew what we were doing. I mean, granted, it's not necessarily analog, but it doesn't have to be perfect. We don't have a boss, all of those things. And,
all of this is to say is that there's a lot of hope, and a lot of it is coming from our kids. And you guys, they might save us. They might save us. So buy your kid a book. Buy them a magazine. Buy them a needlepoint kit. Buy them a camera. Buy them a CD player. Buy them. You can make the list. Anyway, thank you for listening today. Thank you for spending this time with us. Go sit on the toilet without your phone today. In the meantime, let's raise our glasses for a toast, courtesy of the Cast of Three's company. 2 good times.
2 happy days.
To Little House on the Prairie.
Cheers.
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 The Pop Culture Preservation Society is sponsored by Remind Magazine. If you love the deep dives we do here, you'll feel right at home with Remind. Each issue is a curated celebration of the movies, music, and TV legends that shaped our lives, all packaged in an actual magazine with groovy photos, fun articles, vintage trivia, and those old school puzzles that keep the memories sharp. From the icons of the small and silver screen to the Saturday morning cartoons and toys you never forgot, Remind is dedicated to keeping nostalgia alive and well. And as an exclusive offer to PCPS listeners, get a full year of Remind magazine for just $12. That's 86% off the cover price by using this URL to order. remindmagazine.com/pop. That's remindmagazine.com/POP. Don't just remember the past, reclaim it. Subscribe today and bring a little more then into your now.
If you like what you hear, let us know by becoming an official supporter of the Pop Culture Preservation Society on Patreon. This show is created, researched, produced, distributed, edited, and paid for by us, Kristen, Carolyn, and Michelle. And your support allows us to keep the lights on and keep on trucking. For the price of 1 or 2 cups of coffee a month, you can become a supporter by going to poppreservationists.com and clicking on the Patreon link. Or go to our link in bio on Instagram and find the Patreon link in our link tree. We appreciate you and thank you so much for helping us do what we love.